Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue today on our amazing journey so far to learn just a little bit language of Chinese, how it's formed, how it makes meaning. Yesterday we talked about 勇往直前. I spent quite some time, double the amount of time to explain each character, how that piece together. And in contemporary English, it's simply go for it, filled with vibration, with energy, and then it's like straight forward, charging forward. So that's our go for it. And today, 前仆后继. Okay, 前仆后继. Got some interesting meaning as well. So qian we talked about yesterday of this floating boat, kind of static. And when you put a pedal over there, it's going to guarantee it's going to move forward. So that's our qian concept, right? And today, pu. Okay, so we have this human figure, right? And sometimes when we have other shapes of this figure in language formations. And in this shape, it's kind of a hunching over kind of figure. Besides, it becomes like a side standing, not the main. If we put it on the left on one side, that means it's not the main thing, at least compositionally, not the main visual space taker. And that's on the side, right? That's a human figure. And then the right, is a sound maker. Together, it actually means a slavery. I don't exactly know how people make that as a slavery, but this, we long time ago talked about this character. It means kind of forecasting, fortune telling thing. And it's kind of a ritual. So people who can forecast have a kind of special power, I guess. That's one thing, but in other characters, I saw this structure as well, like a long vertical line and a short horizontal line. So that seems to me a certain tool that's used. So if we have that certain tool, you can almost look at it like a rifle. I know in the mass shooting age, that's a bad sign, but I mean, how can ancient Chinese imagine this rifle looking thing? But just to help you make some sort of connection. So it's kind of a powerful tool, I guess. We don't know what kind of tool. And under that tool, this person, this hunch over human figure, going to work. So that's basic concept of why it's in slavery, I guess. So it's kind of slavery, and eventually it becomes a motion of is it called a pro state? Like you're facing down and lying low, that kind of motion. That becomes, so it's a servant. Maybe slavery sounds too harsh. Servant. And then if it describes a posture, it's like hunched over, right? And eventually become flat on the ground. That kind of pu. It's like a fall forward, face down position. So in our context here, 前仆后继, it can have the both meanings, right? Both as a servant, like taking out a mission or service or something, or as a position, like a falling forward. 后继, okay, 后and 前 are the opposite. 前 is moving forward, 后 is backward. So how does that come from, right? This is 后. And there are two versions of 后. You can see contemporary simplified 后looks like this, right? It actually means the ruler. Why? There's a mouse out there giving orders. And then this horizontal line is number one, right? We can interpret it in different ways. It's like, okay, one ruler, one who gives you the order, or it could be a sound bite going out in the air. So right in front of the mouse, it's going to, some sound going forward. And then this structure, in the last episode, we see this structure, right? At the bottom left corner, here is the top left corner. Top left corner means vast space. It makes sense, right? Like you can have characters or parts of the character standing below the structure. So this means somewhere tall, right? So that's a bigger space versus here is already at the very bottom. Like if we view it as an XY coordinate, your X equal to 0, this is ground zero. You cannot move any further down. So that's the bottom level. But this is top. This is you max out the space over here, in your visual character creation. So that in the end means vast spatially. So somebody giving order or one type of voice, one order to a vast area. So that means the ruler of that place. So that's one origin of the meaning. And this is a second meaning, but in the simplified Chinese era, both of them are combined into this character. That means the ruler. But originally, actually, in this context, 前 and hold forward and backwards, right? I guess. So this backward concept came from this character, even if simplified got only one version. So this character a little bit explanation to be done. Here, the 3 strokes means footprints. Like somebody footprints, it's pretty rhythmic, right? So you can see the steps forward. So that's footprint. And the right, we have 2 circles with a connector over there. That's actually our baby. So baby in a bundle. That's the visual image. So that means some very young kid. And at the bottom here, this structure actually means walk backward. So imagine, so here we're talking about walking, right? Walking is a baby walking and it's backward walking. That means this is a super slow walking, right? Baby's backward walking. It's going to fall behind everybody else. So that's kind of indirectly means, okay, that's behind. That's the last in the row, in the sequence of whoever walking to wherever. And that's the last one. It's the baby walking backward. Okay, so front, back, right? And then we have 记. Looks pretty complicated to me, but we have seen this structure multiple times. That means textile. So it's okay. Besides farming, making textile, making clothing is also a big activity back then because we don't have really factories, right? As before the industrial age, it's every household have to have somebody, mostly women, make their whatever apparels back then. So textile making, loom, right? On the loom, on the weaving, and eventually decorative, all the decorative, cut. So wait, is that cut sew back then? Well, I cannot speak to that, but at least textile making became a main domestic activity. So we see this a lot. And this means something related to textile making. On the right, we see a repeated pattern placed top and down. And in each of them have 2 babies in it, right? We have this as babies. 2 babies, another 2 babies. Well, here I have 2 interpretations of how that comes together. Okay, so we're talking about a textile on the left. And on the right side is textile. Again, simply the top portion. That means something string together, right? It's fabric string together. Something related to thread, threading together. So it's coming back to the referral of fabric making activity back then. Textiles or different colors of textiles that when you try to make an image or something, a pattern on the loom, you have to place different fabric, different thread at different places, right? Or it could be just you're going to make a certain length of the textile and you have to keep adding more thread to it, right? So it's like a continuation of a longer textile, fabric, longer piece of fabric. So this is like 1 unit of that and adding it to another unit of it. So if it's repeated like that, so Chinese character, when repetition happens, it means something. So it means continuation of this textile thing. So it's like threaded together. They're linked, even if it's like 1 batch but it linked to another batch, another segment of this fabric. So it's a continuation. So that becomes continuation, continue becomes follow. Okay, another version I'm going to talk in another episode. So 前仆后继, well, I put, because this is a kind of, okay, forward, fall down, and the back one are going to follow. So what does that mean? So in the Chinese, contemporary Chinese language use, this is often used in this kind of battlefield situation. I mean, at least that's originally or most popularly used in the narration of Chinese communist of the history. What happened? Like the founding of the nation is based on the bloodshed of so many who fought for us before. So 前仆后继 was often used as in a pretty bloody battlefield situation. The ones on the front are shot, are gunned down, but the ones in the back keeps going. So imagine for the Western world, imagine Normandy. So that's a kind of 前仆后继, one after another, and it's like facing death basically. That's the kind of 前仆后继 in this battlefield context. But it could also mean generations and generations of thinkers, scholars, or somebody who studies something very specialized in something, and that voice was carried on, continued by the next generations together. So it could be spiritually 前仆后继, one after another, or like here in the battlefield, it's tactically one after another. So that's the 前仆后继,前仆后继we'll talk about. All right, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.